Welcome to our spiritual journey, a path of self-discovery and acceptance.
That how you process and perceive yourself is determined not by what other people tell you, as much as you'd like to believe that, but in fact by how you have chosen to process yourself. And what you want to learn how to do right off the bat, at the very beginning, is to understand that disliking yourself or experiencing self-rejection or putting yourself down or finding fault with yourself or looking at your body and telling yourself all the things about it that you don't like. Like you may be too tall, you might tell yourself that you're too short, you might tell yourself that you're too heavy, that you're too light, that you're any number of things, and you can go through every organ in your body. And some people do this very thing and find all kinds of reasons why they don't like this, they don't like that, they don't like the size of their legs, they don't like the size of their breasts, they don't like the way their hair is, they don't like their eyes, they don't like their ears, their nose is too big. It's an endless. And this is like a burden that you place on yourself in your life, and it's something that you want to really begin to process in a different way. And a way to process it is to say, what do I get out of this? What's the point in me disliking myself or finding fault with myself? It's the only self I have. Instead of doing that and keeping myself miserable, what I'm going to do is look in the mirror and say to myself, this is the body that I have shown up in, for whatever reason, whether it was my plan, or whether it was God's plan, whether it was my parents' plan, whether it was a conspiracy, whatever, it is still the reality. And I am going to accept the reality of what I have shown up in and see it as my curriculum to a higher place. The body that you're in, whether it's in a wheelchair, whether it's blind, whether it's deaf, whether it's tall, whether it's short or black, white, whatever it may be, it is still your curriculum. It's what you have to use to get to the highest place that you want to be in your life. So rejecting it is really rejecting your entire life curriculum. And you have to really look at the whole idea of, in our culture, it's almost, I think I have been asked the question on talk shows across America more about this particular subject than anything else. And the question is, isn't it selfish? Aren't you promoting selfishness? Aren't you telling people that they should love themselves and reject all other people and so on? And I'd like to put that to rest right here. The first thing you have to ask yourself is, what does it mean to be selfish? To be selfish is to be a burden to another human being. Whenever you find yourself a burden to somebody else or someone else is a burden to you, that is a very selfish act. The person who dislikes himself, believe it or not, is the biggest burden to be around in the world. This is someone who is never happy, doesn't know how to make themselves happy, is using other people to try to get them to be happy, is always blaming other people for the conditions of their life. The person who has self-doubt or self-rejection doesn't know how to enjoy their life. And being around a person who doesn't enjoy their life is burdensome. The person who does love themselves, who feels good about themselves, who, if you ask the question, do you love yourself, there's not even an issue there. There's not even a question involved. It's simply, of course I do. This is me. This is all I have. Of course I love myself. Why wouldn't I? Why would I ever put myself down? It has nothing to do with being conceited or finding fault with other people or making yourself better than anybody else. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the simple notion that in order for me to be happy, I have to love myself. In order to be able to be free from being a burden to somebody else, I have to know how to enjoy my life. If I know how to enjoy my life, it means that I am loving the life that I'm having, and that means I'm loving the body that I'm in. I'm loving the self that I am. And therefore, you will not be a burden to anybody else. The person who loves themselves is never a burden to anyone else unless it's conceit. And conceit is just another form of trying to get other people to pay more attention to you. But if it's just authentic self-acceptance, then it is the most important thing that you can do. And in raising children, nothing is more important in the whole educational environment than self-concept, self-esteem. This is what we're trying to teach all the time to young people, is feel good about yourself. Treat yourself, cherish yourself as a valuable, important, significant, grand, divine creature, as someone who is unique and special in all the world. and feel that way about yourself wherever you go and carry yourself that way. Because the minute that you start practicing self-rejection, and self-rejection shows its ugly head in a lot of ways. You can reject compliments that are directed at you. Oh, this old thing, I'm really not very smart. I'm just real lucky, I guess. I mean, it's that whole kind of condescending, always putting yourself down. Someone says, "Gee, you look really nice today." No, I don't really look nice. This is just a facade. This isn't the real me. You can make up excuses for why you look nice. It's my hairdresser. She does it for me. Or it's the wardrobe. Or it's the color that I'm wearing. It isn't really me. You can give credit to other people all the time and not take credit for yourself. Whenever somebody says something to you, you can experience self-rejection by saying things like, "Well, my husband feels this way," or "My mother always said." In other words, putting the emphasis for your life on other people and other events and other things in your life. You can always be verifying your opinions for other people. Like if someone says something to you, your response can be, "Well, isn't that right, George? George, tell him that this is what I mean." That's a form of self-rejection. You might be in a restaurant and refuse to order something that you want because you don't think that you're worth it. So you look for the cheapest thing on the menu. A very typical kind of self-rejecting kind of attitude. You cannot buy yourself something, even though you might have the money, because you don't think that you're worth it. I've seen many times on airplanes where someone will refuse to have a little glass of wine with their meal because they don't feel that they should spend $3 on themselves. So they put the $3 away and don't feel that they are important enough to have that. You can avoid indulgences and doing nice things for yourself, not because of finances here, but because you just don't feel that it's worth it. You certainly shouldn't have flowers around. I mean, you're not important enough to have flowers. Other people get flowers, but certainly not you. Anyway, these kinds of self-rejection attitudes start out very young in your life, and in fact, you may have been carrying them around for an entire lifetime. It isn't to say that they didn't happen to you and haven't been going on in your life since you were a little boy or a little girl, but the fact is that you have to still understand that life is a choice, and that if you want to improve your self-esteem and you want to improve your life, it starts with saying to yourself, "I have been buying into this all of my life. As a little boy or a little girl, it wasn't my mother who did it to me. I believed it. I bought into it. They tried to convince me that I wasn't that important, and I accepted it. And now I'm an adult, and I am still buying into it. I'm still accepting it, and I'm still carrying over all of this leftover baggage from perhaps other people making this effort." So you have to say to yourself, "They didn't do it to me. I allowed it to happen, and I am no longer willing to allow myself to be immobilized by the rejection that other people or other events or other institutions or whatever it may be may have attempted to impose on me."
Remember, you are worthy of love and acceptance just as you are. Embrace your uniqueness and let it shine brightly.